everyone, welcome to a new episode of For the Love of Weather podcast. It's Weather Wednesday. We're really glad that you can join us today. My name is Gemma.
And my name is Aisling. We're so excited to be here with you again for another Weather Wednesday. But disclosure, we haven't actually had a conversation in a couple of weeks via podcast. No, we haven't. We've had to take a little bit of a break. Just a little bit of a break.
It's true.
But yeah, it is. And I've missed it. I've missed our chats. I've just missed it all.
I have too. I keep voice noting you as well, but then we just started the recording now and we had to remind ourselves how to use all the technology again.
It's like, how does this work? I couldn't pick up my microphone and things weren't coming through my earpieces. Thankfully, Gemma is much more on the ball than I am and knows how to Google, which apparently my brain won't do at this hour of the night.
It's true. So we're recording this quite late on a Saturday evening, actually. This is our commitment to the podcast. And
wild time.
I just Googled the answer because I didn't know either, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. We Google a lot, but I think everybody does. Everybody does. But this podcast is maybe just a little bit different. So we've introduced you to quite a few of our friends over the last few podcasts. We've talked an awful lot about weather, and myself and Gemma thought that we would just have a little chat ourselves about something that's actually just a little bit fun, perhaps a little bit of a break from everything that's going on at the moment, but something that with our skills we're able to perhaps just apply a better decision-making process.
It's true.
It is. It really is on a day-to-day
basis. But it also
basis.
Means that we end up getting lots of questions.
This is true as well.
About this topic.
Sometimes really, really tricky questions. But today we thought we would have a little chat to you about the weather and clothing and how on a day-to-day basis we make that decision about what we wear. I mean, our brains are permanently in weather mode and I'm permanently in layering mode, and it just impacts what we do. And Gemma, you're really, really quite fit. I used to be in a former life, but I'm definitely not that now. I'm definitely not. But so you go out running quite a lot, so that massively impacts what you do. In the past, it did for me as well. It definitely helped me stay fit, stay dry as well, or at least get out dry. I think it's okay if you start running when it's dry and then it starts to rain. Once you're that little bit warm,
yeah, that's okay.
It depends how long your run is. She says from memory, by the way. Nothing recent. I do think about it, although I really miss swimming, but that's nothing to do with the outdoor weather. But that's just because all the pools are closed at the moment. I miss it so much.
Disclosure: I haven't run in a month, just because of Christmas, because we're recording this just after Christmas. Everything else going on as well. So my first run back is going to be interesting.
I'm tempted to judge you, but I'm pretty sure I can't actually remember the last time I went for a run. Pretty sure it was over 3 years. Oh no, I tell a lie. I don't know. That's a total lie. When the boys were 11 months, I did a half marathon. So I have actually.
Yes, you did.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Wiped it from your memory.
I definitely did. I don't actually know how I got around on the day, but anyway. Okay.
I was in awe. It's amazing. After just having two babies, I was like, wow.
Don't.
Superwoman.
Definitely don't be at all. I don't really know how that happened that day. I think I took about 3 hours to get around as well.
Doesn't matter, you still got around.
Long. Oh my God. Anyway, so we thought we'd have a little chat about clothing. So on a day-to-day basis, like I don't ever know. Oh, there's a lot of don'ts. This is very Irish way of saying things. I don't think I've ever not known what the weather's going to be. It's very rare that I'm actually surprised when I step outside the door.
You have a rough idea of what the weather's going to be. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I have got caught in a shower because I've forgotten my umbrella or I don't have my raincoat, particularly in the summer. I mean, that happens.
But you probably weren't surprised by the fact that it was there. Maybe
No, I knew it was going to happen.
Umbrella. Yeah.
It's just I forgot to put the umbrella in the bag. That happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think if you live in and around London as well, you don't really, I've never, for all the time that I lived in London, I never used an umbrella that much because I was always on and off transport, in and out of places. And I am a hood person. I wear hoods all the time. I like anything with a hood. All my coats have a hood on it, and that kind of covers me for the umbrella, and also frees my hands up as well. So I was always like just so constantly on the move and stuff, so an umbrella was just a bit too messy for me. Plus, I hate when it drips at your feet, and then when you get in somewhere, there's probably going to be tiles as you enter in the door, and it just drips everywhere. Anyway,
It's true. Also, another thing you've got to think about is I have left so many umbrellas on the tube, because especially when they're wet, you put them down by your feet, 'cause you're like, just leave it there, and then you just get up, get off the train, and you're like, I've left that umbrella on that train again.
I read one time the average lifespan of an umbrella in Dublin is only 2 weeks. Now, bearing in mind,
Really?
yes, yeah. You know, we're used to a little bit of rain in Ireland, 4 seasons in one day. Yeah, but it's only about 2 weeks. But I'd say that's about right, especially if it was a flimsy umbrella. You're just constantly leaving them behind. Poor old umbrellas. Some of them just lying around, eh?
They need to homes. We need to find them and rehome them.
I know, yeah. Maybe we should do something for umbrellas.
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Anyway, so we just wanted to have a little bit of a chat about our clothing. So on a day-to-day basis, I pretty much know what the weather's going to be. And also with my children as well, I'm very mindful about how I'm going to layer them up, what to prepare for when I go outside, what type of layers I need, how long do we have before they start getting colds, and all of that sort of stuff. But I do have a number of wardrobes, though. I think ultimately, I in my heart, I am an outdoor person.
Yep, me too.
So I have a lot of very nice outdoor gear that I have enjoyed buying, and at times not used. But I always have something, you know.
Yeah.
Although I do tend to, boots wear out on me, like hiking boots and things like that. I actually got a new pair last year, so they're pretty solid at the moment. And actually, I've used them a lot this year, but it's really muddy.
Yeah, I've been using mine quite a bit actually recently.
Yeah, and my toes get cold because sometimes the circulation just turns off on them, and I'm like, have no colour in them at all. It's a little bit scary, really. It's a sign I'm getting old. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really concerned for you, Ash.
Yeah. No, it happens. It happens in my fingers as well. It's called Raynaud's disease. Have you ever heard of it? Seriously? Oh my God. I wish I could snap your face right there. You're like, oh my God, your finger's going to fall off. Seriously.
I think I have heard of that actually.
Yeah, I think it sounds more serious than what it actually is. But basically, if you go from extreme temperatures and your circulation isn't super great, on your extremities, the circulation can get cut off. And I often joke, which I probably shouldn't, but you have to joke at things when you feel like there's something wrong with you. I'll probably lose a toe when I'm older and not notice.
I really hope not. I don't know what to say about that.
Anyway, which also brings me on to another topic of conversation: what bag I take outside with me.
Oh, there's so many decisions when you wake up in the morning and you look at the weather. I mean, the standard question I get from people who I know is, do I need a coat today?
Right, yeah.
Is it going to rain?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
That's a really hard thing to answer, though, because somebody will say to you, oh, is it going to rain? And you're like, well, where are you going? Where are you going to be? What time are you actually talking about exactly? And what's the purpose of me needing dry weather? Like, so,
yeah,
exactly what time, if it's a passing shower, it's a lot of questions sort of tied into what you actually
And the other one as well is, so when people say to me, do I need a coat? I'm notoriously, people who know me know I'm a cold person. I feel the cold. I'm always got layers on. I've always, on a night shift, I've been known to wear 2 jumpers because I'm cold overnight.
Oh yeah, hot water bottle.
Exactly. And some people say to me, do I need a coat? And I'm like, well, especially if it's like in the autumn, for me, it might be the fact that I do need a coat. But if they're a person that doesn't really feel the cold, then they might be fine just with a jumper. So I'm like, I know. That's a really hard question to answer.
It really is. It really is. Some people are really warm-blooded as well. Do you know, on a night shift, when I got my Apple Watch quite a number of years ago now, I like freeze or have frozen on night shifts. I have been known to keep my duffel coat on me all the way through the night with my hood up. I just cannot get blood going. Even if I jump up and down, my blood it just doesn't want to circulate. But on my Apple Watch, when I first got it, my heart rate has gone down to 45 beats per minute on my Apple Watch. Now,
wow.
I know there's probably all sorts of accuracy things there, but between about 1 and 4 o'clock at night, my heart rate will frequently go down to that, even if I'm awake.
Wow.
No wonder I'm freezing the whole time. So it depends what time of the day and night you're going out as well.
Yeah, it's true.
I've often walked into work with my coat on, left it on, and walked back out with my coat on, and then probably got into bed in my clothes whilst I suffered on the night shifts. Well, no, I'm not great on night shifts.
The other thing also you have to take into account is obviously I have to walk from work to the station, and if it's a cold day, you're bundled up. You walk from, well, when I was going into the office, I'd walk from work to the train station, and then on the train I'd have to then take off all of the layers because it's so hot on the tube.
Yeah, like totally tropical, which is why I don't like an umbrella. So you can just like, have your hood on you, but that's oppressive in the summer. Just oppressive. You forget how. I can't even actually quite imagine what that is like right now. I can't even imagine the next time I'll be on a tube. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy. I have been on the overland, but it's very quiet at the moment. So, but that's, for work. Yeah. But then there is the bag question. Which bag do you take?
That's a really hard question.
As an outdoor person, I have a lot of backpacks that I like, but now I need like multi-functioning backpacks.
Because you need to take quite a lot of stuff out, yeah.
Yeah, I do. But also I like having my hands free, but I miss a handbag. Not gonna lie.
I've got different handbags for different reasons, and I don't really change my handbag depending on the weather. It's more of the occasion, because all of mine are generally okay if they get wet. Yeah. And my backpack is, because I got my backpack when I went trekking, that it's generally quite lightweight, so it's not the most waterproof, but I've just got waterproof cover for it.
Right. Yeah.
So
you're also, I wouldn't even think of a waterproof cover.
It was on the checklist that they gave us, so I was like, I'll get one of those.
I mean, it's a great idea, but I wouldn't think of that at all. But then I'm just never really, although I am outside for an extensive period of time when I'm in the playground. My life's so exciting right now. These are the only examples I can think of when I'm out and about. But we are getting to that time of year. So this year, I got one more year out of a pair of boots that I have that I absolutely love wearing.
It's always a great feeling when that happens. When you think they're about to go, but you get a bit longer out of them.
Yeah, well, I think it was because the year that was in it, and I really, really liked them, but they are a bit tattered and worn, and I think if I had been in the office more, I probably would have had to sharpen them up a little bit. And also you never know that they're going to be the boots that you love, and I can't get them anymore.
I know,
like a pair of jeans, it's like the perfect fitting pair of jeans. You kind of only realize it a few months later, and then
it's too late.
They're not there. So I do have a pair of boots that are running out, but we keep getting these cold snaps at the moment, so I'm waiting to get rid of them, but they actually do need to go. We still have them.
I went for a walk today, and it was a nice sunny day. There's the risk of a few showers, but it was generally quite sunny. But it was cold, so I was like, okay, I've got like a down jacket that I've got, which is fine. But then when it's cold and it's raining, you're like, oh, well, I'm probably going to need that waterproof shell that I've got as well. So it's like, okay, so I have to check the radar, and I'm like, okay, well, we're probably going to be longer than about half an hour. There's a risk of a shower coming in about 10 minutes, so I'll wear both layers.
Yeah. I check the radar all the time.
I do all the time, yeah. We went for, as I say, before a walk, before a run, I always check the radar. And my latest thing on a run is if there's a few showers, I like to beat the radar.
Right, yeah. And try and depends how fast I'm moving. Although if it was a really shocking windy day, I hope you wouldn't be out running. I'm a little bit of a fair weather runner.
I'm a fair weather runner.
Well, as in I do run in the winter, but I wouldn't, if it was blowing a hoolie, I just wouldn't go out for a run. I'm not that dedicated. I never was.
No, when we were training for races, we would do that sort of thing. But at the moment,
Yeah.
if it's really wet or if it's really windy, then I'm probably going to do an indoor workout.
Yeah, I know. We really need to start doing that. I did buy myself a skipping rope for Christmas.
Oh, I've seen so many cool videos on like social media about people doing skipping. It's amazing.
It has inspired me. Plus, I used to do a bit of skipping because I used to do a little bit of boxing. So I'm hoping the motor memory of it will like come back to me.
You'll have that muscle memory, yeah.
I hope so. But also I really like the idea of skipping along to music. But I did actually buy a mat and a skipping rope, so I'm going to give that a go when it warms up. I did not want to already let myself down by being like, oh, I got to use this straight away. I decided I'd wait until the weather just warmed, or actually until it actually got a little bit more daylight, because I won't be able to do it until a little bit later in the evening, because that would require me to have 5 seconds to myself. So I am going to wait, but I'm looking forward to it. But I just cannot wait for the swimming pools to open back. Maybe some wild swimming would be good as well. But then I need somewhere to store a wetsuit.
Yeah, I've seen people doing the outdoor swimming, and particularly in the summer, I think that looks like a really good idea.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So I'm thinking maybe in the summer, if the outdoor pools are open, I might give it a go.
Get back
or the
into
docks. I
water.
live quite close to some docks as well, so you can do outdoor swimming there as well.
Yeah, there's a load of wild swimming places opened up now, and it's really easy to get stuff as well. You know, like a float. Wetsuits are really easy to come by. There's always like a sale on somewhere if you're not like Uber, you know, if you're just kind of like trying stuff out. But it's probably the one thing actually I miss the most, which is indoors. However, it gives me great pleasure to swim outdoors. I really miss it. All this clothing talk. Although I don't miss getting into a swimsuit. Oh my God. And also getting out of the pool and like trying to quickly change yourself and pull your clothes on, like sticking to you. It's not exactly great. But in the winter, we're in the boots at the moment. I'm also in welly boots, walking shoes, and occasionally I pop my trainers on. Actually, it's too cold out there at the moment. So I look forward to the seasons changing, because I spent all summer in a pair of flip-flops and I love it.
Oh, I'm not a flip-flop person.
Are you not?
No, I just find them really uncomfortable. Sandals, yeah, but flip-flops, no. But it's at the moment, it's like when I go out for a walk, it's like, well, it's pretty muddy out there at the moment. So I'm like, well, do I wear those shoes? Do I wear those boots? Do I wear the walking boots?
I know.
Most of the time, it's just walking boots, or today I went for a walk in my running trainers because they're already muddy because I run on the grass, so it's fine. Don't care if they get more muddy.
I know, and I'm like, where do I leave them to dry off so I can kick the mud up? Like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just.
I had to pick some dried bits of mud off of my carpet today because I accidentally took a bit of mud into the house, and I was like, oh, pick that up before anyone notices.
Clean it up, or just be like, who put that there?
Exactly. Who put that
somebody
there?
clean that up?
Exactly. Although if any of my family listen to this now, they'll know that if they find any mud in the house, it's probably from my running shoes.
Probably from your running shoes. At least they're being used. Actually, I haven't had a new pair of running shoes. Oh my God, Gemma, my last pair of running shoes I bought with you. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. That was ages ago.
They're my last pair of running shoes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bought some just before lockdown, as in last year, because my running shoes, I needed new running shoes. I was very lucky to have got them. So, yeah.
So, my running shoes must be nearly 2 years old, because, that half marathon I did, I ran in my old running shoes. So, I knew they had a few more races in them, or a few more runs in them. But when I bought my shoes with you, I think I was training. Because we had 2 screaming babies with us.
Yes, and the guy in the shop had to hold one of your sons.
And I let
and he
him.
looked so worried.
As I always do. People are like, can I help you? Yes, here, take one.
Between us, me and him were sort of making sure that they were both okay. Yeah, I do remember that, actually. Yeah.
They must have been. And actually, one of them was really upset. Anyway, they had a temperature later on in the day. So that was 6 months. 2 years. My running shoes are 2 years old.
That was a long time ago, actually. Yeah.
I know it. I don't know if it's time necessarily, definitely time for new ones. But if I started like running out there again, I definitely have to get a new pair. But I've so much running clothes.
Yeah,
I do always like
it depends on the mileage as well, how long you've
how long
you've got left in the shoes.
Yeah, no, I've definitely got quite a bit left in them.
But running clothes as well, yeah, what you say about running clothes. I've got certain things that I wear for certain runs, and
I know. I do have one base layer top though that is my all-time favourite, and I've never found another one quite like it. But it's very long, very thin, and has little fingers for the holes and stuff. But I actually even enjoy running in it in the summer as well. There's just something about it. I don't mind I don't know. There's just something
I've got one like that as well. I mean, I was smart. I bought two in different colours.
I didn't know it was going to be the top. I didn't know. And now I'm stuck with it. And I'm like afraid for something to happen to it.
In the winter, I find the layering really hard for running. So
yeah,
I obviously I'm cold all the time, and I'll get ready in the morning. Do you heat up
much when you're running?
So I do, but not a huge amount. So
right.
When I was training for the marathon that I ran with my cousin, we're very different. So she would be out running.
You ran the hottest marathon.
Oh yeah, that was tough.
That was insane. And I remember after the marathon, you were like, "Oh, I wish we did it a bit quicker." I was like, "Gemma, you could have died of dehydration. You did an amazing job that day." It was, what was it, like 30?
No, it was like 24 or something.
And it was humid. It was like people were dropping like flies in that marathon. No matter what training you did, nothing prepared you for the climate on that day.
No. So
only your fitness would get you through that.
Yeah, or being sensible. So when you felt like, there was a time when we felt like we were really struggling, we just walked because we were like, we want to finish.
You want to finish it.
We're fine. But I remember for that, so we'd all obviously trained during the winter and it'd been freezing and I'd worn all the layers, as we've covered from this. I love a layer. And then I remember like, I trained in the outfit that I was going to wear and I was like, okay, I'm sorted. And then about a week and a half before, there was obviously these signs that it was going to be really hot. And I was lucky because I was at work, so I already knew. So I was going out and doing runs in the hotter weather as well, trying to acclimatise to that. And I remember my cousin messaging me and were like, "Do we wear shorts now?" And I was like,
"Well, I don't know, because are they comfortable? They could chafe if you haven't trained in them. You don't know what they're going to be like."
It's so true. So I was like, "Well, I don't particularly like running in shorts. I've never trained in those in running in shorts." So I was like, "For me, it's a no." But I've got like 3/4 length trousers that are very similar to the ones that I'd been training in. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for those. But it just meant that all those decisions that you thought you'd made, you had to reassess them and think, okay, do I need to change my decisions about what I'm wearing?
I think that's a really big deal as well in your first marathon. You want to take out all the variables, like all the things that you can control, you want to control. So, but it must have been very hard to accommodate that, because even like, I don't know, like your feet, your socks that you would have chosen on the day, but that is a big thing, not running the things that you've been running in the whole time. God, what top did you wear? Did you actually wear? And then you would have had sun cream, and you couldn't put any on your head because it would have sweated into your eyes.
So I don't run in a cap normally, but when I found out that it was going to be really hot, I went out and bought like a really thin running cap.
Right.
And I just did a couple of runs wearing it to work out whether it would be okay. But it's all those things. Like, we then had to make sure that we had enough sun cream, and we had to make sure that people along the route had some sun cream that they could give to us so we could reapply so that we didn't burn. Yeah. I think in the end I have a really thin running vest that I normally wear in the summer anyway. So I just wore that, and I put my so I wore 2 layers still. I put my charity vest over the top of it, just because I knew that I was used to running in this other vest and it wouldn't chafe and wouldn't cause any issues. Yeah. But it's all these things that you have to think about.
In the arm as well,
that I did get some of that, which I'd never experienced on any of my runs until the marathon, and I was like, oh.
It was probably the extra sweating, like, as in it. You may not have. Oh yeah. Anyway, It's really tricky. It's really we forget all of these things. Now the good thing about marathons, or certainly the London Marathon anyway, I mean there's loads of things you don't have to think of. It's so well organized. Like, you know, you're going to be hydrated the whole way along the route. There's lots of things that you don't need to think about in terms of bringing. However, you do need to think about how you're going to utilize those things. So that must have been really hard on the day, because all of your water intake would have been based on a very different climate, and what you're able, you know, what you're able to do. It would have been very easy to get dehydrated.
It's true, and it's only since running that marathon and doing other things that I've realised that I probably should have been taking more things like electrolytes on the run, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
But when we were training, we were taking water with us and having to go into like coffee shops and getting them to refill them.
Yeah.
So I already knew that I probably would be drinking quite a lot of water. And we were in a really late wave of the marathon. So if anyone doesn't know, the marathon, they set you off at different times. So we was so by the time we started running, it was already about 19 degrees because it was about 11 o'clock.
Jesus.
So it was really hot already. And you're just standing there in the sun thinking, oh my gosh, it's already hot. How much hotter is it going to get? Are we going to be okay? And actually, on our first water stop, they'd run out of water.
Oh.
Yeah,
so that's well before mile 6.
I think it's
or
about.
is it mile 6?
I think it's
Mile
probably
6.
about mile 5-ish. I really can't remember.
Yeah, you really need to be taking on something at that point. Yeah.
So we had water on us,
Oh wow.
and
that's
luckily when we'd positioned people along the route and we'd made sure that they had water to give to us. But then from then they had enough water. But I think it was because there were some people that were taking more than one bottle. So by the time it got to us at the later stage, they didn't have enough at the first stop, but then they made sure that there was enough elsewhere.
Yeah. Gosh.
It's all those things that you just don't think about. And then if you've trained in certain climates and you know that certain. So I was using like flapjacks as my fuel. And they had like chocolate bits in them, and obviously on a normal day it's fine, but then you think, okay, well, I'm now running trying to eat this flapjack that's actually now got melted chocolate in it because it's so hot.
Oh my gosh, yeah, of course.
Which is fine. It's just a little bit messier.
It's just something else to factor in.
Yeah.
What an epic marathon to have run. That's just unbelievable.
I mean, you
That's
had
just
like pretty ideal conditions when you ran the marathon.
I was chasing against the radar. I was so lucky. I ran it it was about 12 degrees.
It's
and
ideal.
It started off really sunny, really fine. So maybe it was like 7 or 8 degrees at that point. There was a front coming in. It was due to come in about 2 o'clock. And so I knew it was sort of like in my mind, that was partly actually what kept me going, was I don't want to start getting wet like mile 23 or, you know, anywhere around, you know, the last few miles, which hilariously are harder than all the other miles. It's like you can run 22 miles and then suddenly think, I don't know how to run 4 more. I just don't know how to do it. And for me, I remember I was actually got very emotional the last so what I did was I had injured myself foolishly, didn't know enough about training, know a lot more about training. But the girl that was helping me, I went to see a physio, and actually I ran 18 miles on a treadmill one day.
I remember you coming in because you used to run between night shifts, which I am still in awe of.
Insane. Silly. Facing a white wall. And I remember her saying to me, if you can do that 18 miles on a treadmill, there is just no way you're not going to finish this marathon, but you need to be careful about how you run it. And she said, run a mile, walk for 60 seconds, run a mile, walk for 60 seconds. And that's what I did. But I remember the last 2 miles, I just couldn't stop. Like, my brain was like, you can't stop because you will not keep going.
Really?
So you need to keep going. Yeah, but I was quite cold, but I was very emotional as well. But I do remember the last 200 yards, you know, because it's 26.2.
Yeah.
And just being like, there is no joy in this now. I just need to cross this finish line. And then there was joy. But for that, I remember those last 200 yards, just like, I just don't know how to do them. It does bring to mind those people that like wobble across after doing these giant, like, you know, things. But anyway, yes, and actually I've tried to do another couple of marathons but never actually finished it, so I stuck with the halves. But I will do another one. I think there's another one in the cards, especially post-COVID. I think there'll be a lot of joy in it, and a lot of joy in being able to be around people, and just the benefit, soaking up that wonderful atmosphere that exists at marathons. So I'll probably go for a big one because
the buzz will be amazing.
I need the inspiration.
So good. I mean, I'm impressed that you ran the last two. I got to mile 21 and I hit the wall, and I ran with my cousin.
Did you actually hit one? Wow.
Yeah. And I ran with my cousin, and I turned to her and I said, I can't do this.
Wow.
She's like, you can. And there were people that I knew in the crowd saying my name, and I was so not with it. She said to me, do you know those people? And I was like, I hadn't heard them at all, because I was so in my head trying to make sure that I could keep going. And I remember her turning to me and saying, should we try running? And I was like, there's no chance that I can run at this stage. I was like, my knee was hurting. I was like, I can't do it. So we sort of power walked from mile 21, and then I remember us turning the corner, and then we ran up the last bit. I remember going past that. We went past one of the first aid tents, and you could just see so many people there, and I just thought, you have to be sensible in this situation. Your knee hurts, it's hot, you're not feeling 100%, just walk.
Plus the work, and also you've done the work, you've done it, and you know that you've also achieved something else because you've ran one of the most difficult marathons as well. Plus, you don't want to end up with a long-term injury.
That's true.
So injuries generally, minor injuries generally, you get about 2 weeks out of it. You really need to rest it for 2 weeks. But you could have actually done some really bad damage if you had of, for the sake of running, you were going to finish it anyway. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's a marathon.
It's true. I mean, my cousin probably would have carried me if it had come to it. I just jumped on her back. She could have carried me the rest of the way. I was like, I'm finishing this in some way or another. I don't care how, but I'm crossing that line.
Mega respect for those people that dress up in those costumes. I don't know how they do it, or washing machines on their back. They're mad.
I know. I ran a half marathon once, and we were running, it was based in London. We was running near Canary Wharf, and Canary Wharf's a wind tunnel at certain parts. So we're just trying to stay on our feet, dressed normally, and there was a guy dressed as Big Ben, and he was just getting blown all over the place, and I thought, that guy's going to end up being pushed over. And there were people running next to him, trying to keep him upright as he was running, until we got out of this wind tunnel. And I just thought, respect to you, because I'm struggling and I'm dressed. I'm just dressed in normal clothes.
It just amazes me.
I don't know how you do it.
I know. And even people who dress up in costume, because that costume isn't the right material for running in. I don't know how they do it. I did actually have a horrible half marathon once in Silverstone, and I don't know what it is about that track. I can only imagine why it's so difficult to drive around, but I ran around it. But no matter where I ran, the wind was in my face.
That's hard.
It was, I just felt I was I know you can't see the face I'm pulling, but it was
it's an interesting one.
Yes, the whole way it was the most unenjoyable. There was no joy in it at all, no pleasure. And when I finished, and actually I love getting the medal, that's the best part for me, is just actually having a medal. I have a little collection of medals. I just couldn't even enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy it. It was a horrible marathon, but I've had quite a few nice ones actually. But I think probably but I'm a slow shuffler. I've got a lot of stamina, but I'm not fast.
I'm the same. I'm
very slow, but I can do the distance. But
slow and steady. I'm just slow and steady. Keep it going.
Yeah, that's me. Oh, I that was me, by the way. God, I'm speaking now I actually know what I'm talking about. But I have memories somewhere in my brain of doing all of.
You'll do another race again. We'll end up doing a For the Love of Weather podcast team marathon run somewhere or something. So
yeah, we should. Maybe we should pick a marathon somewhere and I'd love to do the Dublin Marathon. I'd love to run at home. Maybe we could do that. I'd
also like to run the one in Valencia.
That would be nice. I've no desire to run the run in Edinburgh.
That would be really hilly, wouldn't it?
Well, no, it's just probably going to be really cold. I just wouldn't trust the
Oh, okay,
weather.
I'll do that then. As long as it's not 24 degrees, I'll do it.
Oh, the days when we could go do races. I do miss my sports clothing though. They're like one of my favourite sets of clothes and stuff, you know, popping them
You
on.
should just wear it on your walk.
I know. I just normally have someone hanging off me. I don't know. It's just not the same. I have in the past run with the buggy, you know, like, but it's really hard to find like a good enough like stretch of path where it's you really realize how uneven paths are when you are actually pushing something. Plus, cumulatively, the boys now are 5 stone that I'm pushing, so I've enough to be doing.
Yeah.
Just actually physically pushing them, but I do miss it. I do. Yeah, it'll come back. As will handbags. As will the handbags as well. You know, and it's not like that I'm over girly or anything, but I do enjoy that time when you can get dressed up and think I'll put something in my handbag.
But I love a handbag.
Maybe we could like we can do a pod thing. I know. Sure, all the years we know each other, it's generally like handbags has come into the conversation because you normally have one per season and I'm normally envious of it. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I very rarely buy new handbags, but I've got like a collection that I'll rotate around. Yeah. But then you have to remember to keep your essentials in them.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know.
I've got an umbrella in every bag.
Have you? Are they weather themed or are they basic? I mean, I like a nice umbrella, like a pretty one. Like I like to have something unusual on them.
They vary. So I had one that had raindrops on.
Did they change colour?
I had another one that had that changed colour when it got wet. Oh, and I had another one. This one, I don't have this one anymore, but it was clear and it said on it, "I love rain," which I do.
I want that umbrella.
It's a really good umbrella. It's really big as well. It's really nice. Buy you one and send it to you.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I know. Maybe one of these days we can like have a coffee, record our podcast.
It'll be so strange when we can record a podcast in person, like together.
I know. I think it's going to be.
We're still open Zoom just out of habit. You'll send me the link.
I think it'll just be overwhelming. You know, when we actually get to, I don't know, do something normal. I just can't quite imagine it yet. And
we could have like guests in the same room as us when we record as well.
And maybe buy them a coffee.
Yes. And if I'm there, it's probably going to be some sort of cake as well. That's fine.
I'm cool with that. I'm very good at eating cake. I love it.
I'm so good at eating cake.
I know. I had this conversation with a colleague of mine actually just the other day, on Monday actually. I was just saying how much I miss somebody cleaning up after me, but just like going somewhere, having a coffee or a tea or a glass of wine, you know, not even at nighttime, just like somebody, just that social, like thinking about what I might like to put on, what coat will I take with me. I don't know. I miss it. I'm definitely missing company, missing my family a lot as well recently. I have a sister in one country, in France, and then the rest of my family is in Ireland, and I just can't see a time quite yet when I'll get to go and travel to them.
No, it's probably still going to be a good few months before that's a possibility.
I know. And then I'll have to think about what I'm going to wear when I go to Ireland because the climate's so different, and what I'm going to wear when I go to France.
When you go see your sister in France. It's so true.
So warm. Oh my God. It's oppressively warm though where she lives. I don't actually like visiting there in August. It's just oppressive. It's so hot. Like well breaches my ability to cope. I have a maximum temperature of about like 25 degrees, you know. So even though I'm quite cold-blooded, my discomfort past 25 degrees is very visible in my physical appearance. What happens to my hair, my face, frizzy hair, like I'm clearly somebody who genetically was not designed to be in the heat.
I remember when we took our trip, when we went on holiday together.
And I burned.
But I remember you would go inside and you'd have a siesta, just have a little nap because it was cooler inside every
Factor
day.
50?
Yeah.
Yeah, just couldn't basically cope. Started sort of waking up as the temperature went down. And then equally, I'm not very good in very cold temperatures either. But also, this kind of comes back to the whole thing about snow. It's a damp cold over here, but when it gets dry cold, that's quite nice.
And you can see why people were so interested in the weather, and they like to check the weather and ask us about the weather, because it does have an impact on our day-to-day lives. What clothes we wear, what we need to take with us on a day out. Do I need my hat today? Do I need my thermal t-shirt? Or there's all these decisions, and you can see why people are interested in the weather. I mean, we love it anyway, but there are so many day-to-day decisions that require the weather for you to make those decisions.
Do you know what amazes me? I do actually have a couple of friends that like would say, so okay, so I guess we're kind of talking pre-COVID, or when you could meet in a group of 6. So they might say, oh, we're going to the playground at 10. Do you want to come tomorrow? Or shall we meet at the playground at 10 tomorrow? And I would just immediately be like, well, no, because it's going to be raining. And they would just have no idea. You know, just
it's
like,
so
how do you
true.
function
It's
in life not knowing what the weather's going to be? And then you've got other pals who are like totally on it. And like a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, super clever as well, but she's just like, no, we won't do Wednesday because that's going to be the worst day. And actually there was a yellow warning for rain, so she's all over it.
It's true. And it's like so many things, like if you're leaving the house in the morning, do I need to remember to defrost my windscreen, or is it going to be foggy? Do I need to leave a bit of extra time because of the fog? And so many decisions that need to be made based on what the weather's like.
I know, it's a semi-permanent calculation that's always going on in my head as to what's happening. And actually, just before I was talking to you, I was just checking some of the latest model data. So at the time of recording, we're due to have some snow somewhere.
I'm really hoping that it's where I live.
So,
especially because I told my mum, and she's like, my mum's like, nah, it's
hoping.
not going to snow. And I really hope it snows so that I can say, I told you it was going to snow.
This is the second time I have actually, so I'm very cautious about suggesting snow anywhere, but I've actually done it twice now. And the first one, it actually did snow about 3 a.m, but you wouldn't have known that by the time we woke up, it was turned to rain. So I had said, oh, there's probably a pretty good chance of actually seeing a bit of snow. And I've said it again today, so that's my second time. So I hope it comes true, because you know how it is, Gemma. You're only as good as your last forecast. Nobody will remember the 99 forecasts you got right. They remember the one you got wrong. And if the word snow is in it, it's like...
It's so true. Gosh. People like to see snow.
My reputation.
If you said it's going to snow, it doesn't snow. You'll hear a lot about that.
Yeah. I know. Not it's not good. And also, I'm like, in my head as well, I'm like, how do I get into work now? Because this is the worst part about it. You can get caught in your own story of weather. So I don't know whether to drive in tomorrow or to try and take public transport. There's, obviously there's the element of safety for many different reasons.
I remember there was one year and it was the snow just ground London to a halt. There was like no trains. And I was on shift and I just thought, how can I not get to work? I need to go to work to forecast the weather that stopped the trains. Like, I really need to get into the office. And I was lucky. I managed to there was like a couple of trains running. I managed to get on those trains. But in the end, I was like, well, we're going to have to get a taxi or drive, because I have to forecast this weather. I have to go to work. It's not an option for me not to be in the office.
I know. Do you know, I've worked as a civilian forecaster as well. So in aviation was sort of my expertise, I would say. And I was working in one of the really large airports, and it was one of the first snow events, and I had actually put the original forecast together, like, let's say, like 4 days out. So that's, that's tough if you're already in meetings 4 days out with a whole bunch of airlines and whatever else. But I had actually put the original forecast together and was due to be on shift for the next 4 days. So for the actual event itself. And it was one of those lovely forecasts that came off beautifully, started as rain, turned to snow, gave a couple of centimetres, which is unbelievably fascinating, being on the side of a runway, seeing how long it takes gritters to clear the tiniest amount of snow. It's so disruptive. It's unbelievable. And I know that because we forecast for it, but actually physically seeing the gritters sitting on the runway, and actually at one point sitting in the gritters, really gave me an understanding for it. But anyway, I was on a night shift for the event, so I said to my colleague, first sign of a flake, ring me, because it was probably going to turn to snow first further south. And they did. And by the time I got into work, and it only took me 25 minutes to get in, the whole place was covered in snow, and I nearly didn't make it in. But what are you supposed to do? Say I didn't get in because of the snow? I forecast the snow.
So true, so true. I really like when we have a big event like that. I quite like it if I'm working for the whole event, so you can do the forecast and then you can see it through at the end as well.
You can see it through, yeah. There's little satisfactions in it, and then it's another little and also because snow is so hard to forecast for, you really rely on those times and experiences that you do have, because it's such a marginal thing. And there are occasions where it's more straightforward, for sure, like the snow that we're expecting tomorrow in London, or across southern England, wherever it's going to be. We know it's going to be snow because it's definitely, the right temperature. It's below freezing and all that sort of stuff. We just don't know exactly where. So there's lots of different reasons why it's tricky, but normally it's to do with whether it is sleet or snow and how readily it turns, to snow. Normally that's the tricky part. So any experience you have with it is just invaluable, because you could actually go through, let's say you started forecasting and then 5 years later, you may still not have experienced a proper cold snap where you are, or where you're forecasting for, to actually figure out what is the best way to forecast snow in the UK, which is different.
It's true. And then you could be in a situation where you could be like, okay, well, I remember this happened a couple of years ago and it turned to snow here when it wasn't expected to because of this happened. And you're like, okay, well, it's a similar setup. Something like that could happen again. So you're more aware of it, so you can warn for it as well. Yeah, it's just invaluable. It's like you don't get enough. With other forecasting, you're racking them up. And once you get through, I think once you make it through your first year, you've experienced a season. You can exhale. And then your second year, you've experienced the same season twice. It really is like a seasonal thing. But snow, you just might miss out on. So any forecasting that you have is normally invaluable, because if you're a technical forecaster, which we've both done, and now at the moment we do it in more of a public service type of way, but as a technical forecaster, that's just invaluable. Having that skill. Oh, the stress of it all, but I love it. There is something satisfying about forecasting snow heights, amounts, and then when it comes off, you're like, it's that sense of achievement. It does feel great that you've got it right. But it's so hard.
Disclosure, it's 9:20. I still don't know what's going to happen tomorrow as to how much we're going to see. But this is the problem when a low pressure system isn't properly sucked into the jet stream. It's just wibbling wobbling around, and it just changes from model run to model run, and like 50 miles north or south is the difference between a horrendous forecast and not horrendous forecast. On a global scale, that's nothing. But when something's not really sort of directly sucked into the jet stream, it's definitely harder to understand the extra forces that are actually pushing it around, which makes that model run to run variation really, really frustrating. So even if you're like, you've got your satellite imagery, so you've got things that you're actually, verifying against, don't have as many soundings as we were saying, but your satellite images are really, really good shout, obviously, as a starting point. But even then, it's tricky if it's I don't know how to describe it, like a loose low pressure system, one that's sort of like broken away a bit and it's not quite connected to anything, so it's sort of trundling away. Anyway, that's my take on this, is that I don't know, so it won't matter, because by the time people hear this, the event will be well gone, so it'll be fine.
It doesn't help either that the models themselves, obviously there's various models that we can look at, they're not agreeing either. So
no, and that's you're like, right, well, there's one overall solution, but the details of that solution, there's like 50 different things. So we know something's going from northwest to southeast. As to which line that takes and how much it's going to deposit, We will find out tomorrow when I've finished work and if I make it out in the snow. Anyway, we should wrap things up. We've been talking for quite a bit about. I'm not actually
this
sure.
It's quite a random
It
podcast, actually.
It was a bit random. We're just going to be honest. We didn't know how many podcasts to do, so we figured we kind of wrap it up with. We're going to turn into seasons, and this will be one of our final ones in the season, and then we'll start a new season in spring. So this is our winter episodes. And we will be doing more in spring. But we are going to leave you with Gemma. Today we'll have some weather wisdom for you. And I absolutely love this one. And I think it's actually quite a philosophical question as well. But Gemma, do you want to explain why the sky is blue?
We all know that the sky is blue. You look up and you can see that the sky is blue. And even on a cloudy day, the sky is blue. The cloud breaks and you can see that there's blue skies up there. But the reason for that is that the white light from the sun, it travels through the atmosphere towards the earth, and it's scattered into different colours by the ice and the water droplets and the molecules of gas that are in the atmosphere. And the blue light is scattered much more efficiently than the other colours towards our eyes. So our eyes are just more attuned at detecting that shorter wavelength where we find that blue colour and where it sits on the spectrum of colours. Yeah. But even on a cloudy day, the sky is still blue. It's still there. It just takes for that cloud to break and we see those blue skies.
Although, interestingly, actually, the human eye sees between about 0.4 and 0.6 micrometers. And that's where, most of our colours fall. So it's actually green that we see the most variety of. But somehow that blue sky is just, I don't know. There's something about seeing blue sky when you wake up in the morning, when you're walking home or something. It's just very uplifting.
Yeah, or even on a cloudy day, a bit of blue sky. There's just that bit of hope.
Blue sky. Yeah. But probably because my nose is normally up in the sky.
Mine
looking
too.
at it. But I do actually look up quite a lot, and blue, it is lovely. And actually, at this time of year as well, I'm very, very attuned to daylight. Especially in January, it feels really important to me to watch those extra minutes clock up. But the blue of the sky definitely starts to change in January. Yeah. You kind of get that the more of a true blue is starting to kind of show its hand. However that light is scattered, that little wavelength that we're seeing at the moment starts to change. And it is lovely, and it's a sign that we've got hopefully brighter skies on the horizon. And hopefully we can all give each other a big old hug soon.
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be nice? And get a handbag out, Gemma.
Oh,
whichever one we want, or go handbag shopping.
That would be nice.
Although I'm a bit of a window shopper, I do just like looking.
I really hope that everyone's enjoyed this really random episode. I mean, I think
if you've managed to make it to the end, thanks.
You're dedicated. You're dedicated.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's just nice just to chat about the weather and just see where the conversation takes you. I mean, that was the idea for the podcast and how it affects our daily lives. But we really hope you've enjoyed it. I mean, we started off with clothing, but we've covered quite a range of topics here.
Yeah, we have.
So we hope we've given you a little taster. We might delve into some of those topics and a bit more.
And if you do want to give us any feedback, we would love to hear from you. We've had a handful of messages from some people that have come across our podcast, and it has just made our hearts soar to hear from people and to know that they're just listening to it and enjoying it. Just, listening, just enjoying it. So we would love to hear from you. We are on Twitter. Number 4.
The number 4 for Love of Weather.
Yeah.
We are on.
We couldn't quite get the Twitter handle we wanted. So.
And on Instagram, we are For the Love of Weather. The whole name there. Yeah. But if you've got any topics you would like us to cover, if you've got any weather wisdoms, anything that you've heard, a saying or a myth that you would like us to explain, drop us a message. We will get those covered at some stage. Yeah. But we really love to hear from people. We really hope everyone's enjoying these podcasts, and we really hope that everyone's leaving these episodes loving the weather just that little bit more.
Just a little bit more, yes. So until the next time, we will say goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye.